Okay, assalamu alaikum everybody. Sorry, I did want to be here before all of you and set up and prepare everything and the videos and have everything up. So I'm sorry it's thank you very much. No, that's all right, thank you. I'm not going to sit here and eat these. I'm trying to make a point. So as the star just told you, my name is Zanib Mian and I'm a children's book author. This workshop isn't about trying to tell you guys how to be a parent, or what you're doing right with your kids or what you're doing wrong with your kids. It's not about that. I wanted it to be more of a sort of open discussion between us all, and just to share some of my tips, so to speak, of how to get your child to love Allah. So, that's the topic of discussion, how to get your child to love Allah, inshallah. So, I'm not qualified as an alima or anything, but it's just experiences and, my knowledge of a child's mind and how to convey a love of Allah to the child. So that's what it's about. Okay, so you can see that I've piled up some sweets here. This little, I don't know if all of you can see at the back, but there's, on my left, there's just one little sweet. And this is how much you, as a parent, love your child. Okay, that's how much you love your child. I'm going to get emotional while I'm doing this. But this here, this pile of sweets, this is how much Allah loves your child. So can you see that? Sorry, I don't want to cry though. This is about conveying to your child how much Allah loves them, and they know. So, you know how much you love your child, they know how much you love them. They know that you would never allow anything to happen to them, how much you care for them. Okay, so if that love is just this tiny little sweet, but this whole pile of sweets, because Allah loves us 70 times more than our mothers love us. Okay, and here's me all in tears just trying to convey that one little point with sweets. It just shows, we don't express to our children enough how much Allah loves them. Hopefully as parents we do express to them how much we love them. I tell my kids all the time I love them. They know how much I love them. Even if you don't tell them, it's through your actions that your kids know how much you love them, subhanAllah, right? But we don't express to them enough how much Allah loves them. We tell them, you have to pray, you have to make your du'as, you have to, be a good Muslim, you have to do this and that. But we never sort of sit there and tell them how much Allah loves them. And not just only just sit there and tell them, but do things in their day-to-day lives to express how much Allah loves them. So this is just me trying to convey that to you guys. Okay, so I wanted to start off actually by showing you a video, but I don't know if we're going to be able to look at that now. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to look at that now, but so the video.
If you send us a link, what we can do is we'll put that link below the video that we're recording.
Okay, yeah. Some of you might have already seen it if you follow Muslim children's books on Facebook, because it's a video we've shared in the past, and it's called "How to Get Your Child to Love Allah," and it's mostly about the do's, what to do, rather than what not to do. And it's simple things really, but we don't always realise that we're not doing these simple things. So in the video it does suggest that you practically show children that Allah loves them. You help them to visualize it, like I did here with the sweets. You know, because children need that. You need to help them visualize it. If you just tell them, oh, you know, Salihah, did you know that Allah loves you 70 times more than I do? It's not going to really
understand.
Yeah, it's going to go over their heads. But if you do something like this, you're physically, visually explaining to them what those words mean, sort of thing. And, you know, you can start off by saying, you know how much I love you? Do you know that I love you? Do you know how much I love you? Try to get the child to register and express how much you love them. Okay? And then do that. Because, I mean, if I was to say to any one of you, oh, there's this lady, you know, Auntie Aisha or whatever, and, you know, she just loves you so much. She loves you more than your mum. She just absolutely adores you. She would do anything for you. You would be like, wow, I want to meet this Auntie Aisha. You're like, when can I meet her? Sort of thing. I want to know more about her. Where does she live? What does she look like? What does she do? How can I love her back? But, you know, with Allah, that's just Auntie Aisha who kind of loves you a little bit more than your mum. But, subhanAllah, imagine how much Allah loves us in comparison to that. You know, that should make us want to know Allah more and to love Him back. I mean, that's kind of like one thing I'll just keep saying. Allah loves you, love Him back. When people ask me to sign their books, that's one of the things that I will often write. Allah loves you, love Him back. But what does it mean to love Allah back, you know? It's just an expression of trying to get the children to register that Allah loves them that much. And it's kind of mind-blowing. And then the beautiful thing is, they automatically will want to please Allah. You know, you're not going to have to sit there and say, oh, you're going to get punishment for doing this or that, or you have to learn this many surahs and you have to recite your du'as every day, or you have to learn Quran, you have to go to madrasa. If you get the love for Allah right in that child, inshallah, they are going to want to do all of those things. They're going to be coming to you and saying, you know, tell me more about Allah. Like, you know, I want to understand what this Quran is saying. I want to love Him back. They'll be coming to you. So if you just get that one element right, then it's not going to be about wondering how you can get them to love the Quran, or wondering how you can get them to memorize more. Do you understand what I'm saying? And things to avoid when you're, that's one thing. To get them to love Allah is to make them understand how much Allah loves them. And then automatically they're going to want to love Allah SWT back. Other things, and this is why I wanted to show the video, because it's kind of a trigger for myself as well. But, you know, just practically saying the phrase, see, Allah loves you, all the time in the house. We do that in my house. For anything, you know, the smallest of things, just to make them realise that that's happening because Allah loves you. Even if it's something negative, but we'll come to that. But even the smallest of things, like you're coming home with heavy shopping bags and there's a parking space right there for you. See, Allah loves me. You know, I say that all the time. See, Allah loves me. And the kids will start saying it, and you just say it all the time. If something happens, see, Allah loves you. There you go. You point it out. You just make it a habit. And it will become one of those really nice phrases in the house. Another way is, I mentioned before that we do tell our children that we love them. Often at bedtime when we're tucking them in after reading them a book, you know, we'll say, I love you, good night or something. And the child will say, I love you back. So our children are in the habit of telling us that they love us. Why not get them in the habit of telling Allah that they love Him? I mean, Ustaz Hamid will correct me here, because as I said, I'm not, I hope it's not like a bid'ah or anything. If the kids say, I love you a lot, I say it, I'll admit it. Sometimes I'll just say it, I'll be working at my laptop or whatever, and I'll just say it. But that's the kind of person I am, just a bit silly like that. But there's ways of expressing to Allah that you love Him, and why can't that be one of them? Why can't you just say, I love you a lot? You know, He's listening. He listens. So why not get the children to, why not, you know, they tell us they love us, why not get them into the habit of telling Allah that they love Him? And you could start off by doing that at bedtime when you read to them and tell them that you love them, and then say, I love you Allah as well, and they'll start to say it, and they'll start to feel it, you know. when you say something often enough, then even if in the beginning they're just saying it because it's fun, because you said it, they will start to feel it, especially when you do all of this as well, inshallah. One thing to avoid if you want your child to love Allah is the threat of punishment and hellfire. And I really feel quite strongly about that when it comes to young children, because I really don't see the need for them to be told that there is a hellfire and it is this and that, and you're going to go there if you don't do this or that. And often as parents, we catch ourselves using that as almost as a behaviour management tool. Don't answer back to me, you're gonna, Allah's gonna punish you. And then what that's doing is really, and more than us telling them about Allah's love for them, we use those phrases. We do use those phrases. We use you're going to get gunaah for that, or Allah's going to punish you, or, these kind of people go to hellfire. Hopefully we're not using language as strong as that. But if we want to build a love for Allah in our kids' hearts, I think it's really too early at this very tender young age to start telling them about that. I'm not saying that we must deny that hellfire exists and that people are going to be punished, but I think there's a time when they'll be ready to hear that. And at the moment, they're so young and tender that their hearts are just, the iman is just beginning to grow in their hearts like a little seed. And it's not strong enough to take things like that, and they're not ready for it. And actually, a child does not go to hell. A child is not held accountable for their actions until the age of puberty. So, why are we telling them they're going to be held accountable for? Why are we telling them something so scary about someone we want them to love and respect and admire? Yes, they will be ready to hear that, but when they're a lot older, so when they reach puberty, that's when they're accountable. So that's when you can start to elaborate on that, and they will be ready to hear it then, because that iman would have grown, that seed would have grown into a strong tree by then with really strong branches, which is not going to crumble under the weight of hearing something so heavy. And by then, because you've been doing this whole Allah loves you thing, by then they, inshallah, will have such a strong iman and love for Allah that even when they hear that, they're not going to be like, oh no, but Allah doesn't sound very nice, or like, how can Allah want to punish us? They're not going to feel those kind of sentiments. They'll be strong enough to take it, and they'll be, hopefully, inshallah, they'll be confident in themselves that they are leading their lives correctly, that they're not going to have to face those punishments. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, there are do's and don'ts. And the biggest don't is that if you want your child to love Allah, is don't use him as a behaviour management tool, don't use him as a threat, just don't mention any of those negative sort of connotations. And lastly, kids have a lot of questions about Allah, and a lot of them are difficult questions. Especially if you're doing this job right about getting them to love Allah, then like I said about the Auntie Aisha thing, like you would have many questions about Auntie Aisha, they're going to have many questions about Allah SWT. They're going to want to know lots about him. And sometimes those questions are difficult for us to answer, especially when we're thrown off guard, But kids, by nature, are really inquisitive, and it's good for them to be inquisitive. So don't sort of shut those questions down. Allow them to want to know more from you. Even if you can't answer it right then and there, perhaps you can come to the Ustad and ask for his advice on how to say, oh, that's a really good question, but I'll have to ask somebody before I can tell you about that, but let's write it down so that we don't forget. So the child feels confident that you haven't just sort of shut it down, you are going to answer that question for them. Recently on our blog we did do a piece with because we asked our audience what are some of the difficult questions, and there were some questions that were very common. They were asked often. Some of them are like, where is Allah? And one of them was, why do some ladies wear a hijab and some don't? And these are questions like, you're like a bit like, oh no, what shall I say to that? Because everybody has in their family women who wear hijab and maybe some who don't. So we have to answer those questions tactfully and in the correct way as well. And our answer to that was obviously that yes, there are women who wear hijab and there are women who don't wear hijab, Muslim women. That neither means that wearing hijab is not important, okay, nor does it mean that the woman who's not wearing hijab is not a good Muslim woman. And maybe she's doing lots of things that is making Allah SWT love her so much for those actions. And it might be that somebody who's wearing a hijab, Allah loves the woman who's not wearing a hijab more. Or it depends on lots and lots of actions. Basically, answering the question for the child, whatever kind of question it is, in a manner that sort of further will develop their love for Allah and everyone around them, and be acceptable, and don't sort of be like, this person's right and this person's wrong, and that kind of thing. So I'm just bubbling on now, but you can have a look at the blog later on the Muslim Children's Book site if you want to look at some of the other questions. And maybe perhaps now when we have a discussion, there might be questions that your children often ask you, and I can try and help you with that with Ustad's guidance. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. But let's open it up to you guys and sort of have a round table discussion, so to speak. Is there anything anybody wants to say?
My little one, when he went to school, when he kind of started coming to madrasa, he kind of knew the difference between Muslims and people who are not Muslims, and the names and why are they so different. So he came and asked me, Mama, why is everybody Muslim? Why is Darius not a Muslim? Is he a Muslim?
Yeah.
So there were so many questions in that one question. Yeah. I was like, when I was explaining to him, no, Baba, there are Muslims and there are other people who follow different religions. But I don't know whether he really understood because he's only 4.
He's only 4, yeah.
So they said there are Christians and there are Buddhists, Hindus. So they have different names and they have different identities, and they dress differently, they have different names, how they pronounce and everything. So I did tell him that, and he did kind of, nod to it and understand.
Yeah.
So, and again with the foods as well, the halal and what to
why
eat
do they
and why.
eat? Yeah.
So like that, there are like so many questions.
Yeah.
It's quite challenging sometimes. Yeah.
It is. And I think with those kind of questions, you just have to express to the child that, and Allah does love everybody, and He will answer the dua even of somebody who's not Muslim. Am I right? So you just have to kind of give them the hope that, inshallah, with guidance, they may come to accept Islam. And at any moment, you cannot say that we're better than them because we're Muslims and we've been Muslims for years, because you do not know how Allah is going to turn your heart tomorrow and how they might turn that person's heart tomorrow, but you just have to kind of encourage them to be the best Muslims that they can be in front of all these people, with their character, just being the best Muslims that they can be, so that these people do look at them and think, oh, what is it to be Muslim? It looks pretty good, What is that person so great, mashallah, because of their faith? And even if they don't, we continue to be kind to them and accepting of them, and make dua for them. But, by no means does it mean that we are better than them. So you just kind of try to express those kinds of things to them. Anybody else? Sister, you in the pink?
Yes, I was thinking more about, because I have a child who suffers with, he's got, sort of anxiety disorder. He has a lot of fears and anxieties. So I find it hard to talk to him about shaitan, about, the du'as that they're referring to, that refer to shaitan, because it sort of feeds his anxiety. So
no, definitely.
It's not so much the question is not so much about how to talk to him about Allah, but how to talk to him about shaitan in a way that doesn't frighten him.
Sure, because he's already heard these scary things from other children, or
and also just the concept of shaitan at all is frightening.
Yeah, it can be frightening. Yeah, and we've made another video about that as well. It's called the tricksy and pesky shaitan, something like that. I mean, I encourage you all, just go on the Facebook page. I think we'll send the link to stuff, because there are several blog. On the blog there's several articles and there's videos as well, and they kind of deal with all these issues. So somebody asked us to make one about shaitan, which is why we did, because yes, it is one of the things that children struggle with. It's a scary thing, you know, they hear about this shaitan and he's going to do this and that, and he sounds really scary, of course, but the way to handle that is just kind of to scale up in their minds, and it's not scaling up because it's actual fact that Allah SWT is the most powerful, and He loves you this much. Do you think He's gonna, you know, shaitan is there, but he's just like this little pesky thing. You know, don't make shaitan scary in their eyes. They can understand that this is what he tries to do, but we know how to handle him because we say this dua and that dua, and we're alright because Allah loves us, sort of thing. You know, that's how you have to kind of play that fear down about shaitan. And that's true. In actual fact, we do know how to, we are well equipped, inshallah, with how to deal with that shaitan. He's not going to bother us if we, you know, we keep clean and we do these du'as of protection, and we're sorted, you know, just sort of make them feel like that. And he's just like this, he is pesky, and he will pull one on us if we're not aware and careful, but we're smart and we know how to, you know, we know how to combat him in that way. But please do refer to that video, and perhaps we make the videos for children. I mean, if they're at a reading age, they'll be able to follow the video themselves, so it's quite fun for them. Yeah, inshallah. And I think there's something in the hadith book. This is not me pitching my book, but you know, the reason I wrote these books is to help children, and you know, I speak to them in that way. So yeah, we use these kind of terms, and we sort of try and deal with these issues, with these common issues of children, encouraging them to love Allah, and you know, handling these fears that they have as well. Yeah.
Can I just say, my little one was having a period of time of bad dreams, waking up, and then we made a habit to make sure we always did catch Qur'ans and surahs, you know. And although she couldn't recite them herself, we'd say them for her, so now it's become a habit. Everything like protection bars, and normal camera protection bars, I can say for her. So